Yeah, so we had a couple of others reach out to us, and they DM'd us on Instagram and sent us a message on Twitter as well, just to say that we'd been their top podcast on the Spotify Unwrapped. So thanks to Joel M. Young and to Rail Elliot B, who spent 2,557 minutes listening to our podcast, and Joel was 2,479 minutes. So, wow, that's a real dedication. I wish you was watching that on YouTube when I was feeding you 35 adverts a minute or whatever it was. That would have been great. But Steve, I've pulled some things out for you as well, because there's some bits that you won't know. We also get Wrapped as a podcast as well. So here's some of the things that they let us know. So apparently we created 99% more content than the average other in the business category. So we created about 3,114 minutes of content in the last year. So I thought it was quite cool. Our best episode was Chris Hill on buying stocks whilst high. I think we probably could have guessed that, to be honest. It had 335% more streams than an average episode. So it was a huge jump for us. It was really, really well received. And I think Chris pushed it a little bit on the show as well, which obviously helped. Steve, did you know we are now streamed in 47 countries?
Not even sure I can name 47 countries, Steve, if I'm honest.
No, but I think the sort of top five are maybe some of the obvious ones. United Kingdom, United States, Ireland, Canada, and Netherlands, which is probably T. I'm not sure if there's anybody else from the Discord. But yeah, that was quite interesting to me. Apparently we were in the top 20% most shared globally. In terms of the podcast, so we were shared on WhatsApp, direct linked others, Facebook and Instagram as well. So blown away by some of the stats. It was just they're just completely crazy to me. Apparently we're in the top 5% of most followed podcasts on Spotify at the moment, which is a kind of crazy stat. Apparently 39%. I think this stat is based on the amount of people who watch your show and actually then go on to follow. And that's about 40% for us, so that's pretty high. Apparently 95% of our listeners discovered at some point in 2022, so which kind of shows you how much our listener base has grown. 11% of those people started with Chris Hill's episode as well, so not all from that episode, which has probably shocked us, because we did see a big jump in our listenership at that point. We did 51 video episodes this year, and they were in the top 5% of most viewed on Spotify. So, to be fair, Steve, I think we start getting some gold sunglasses and things like that. And just some last stats for you, Steve. So, just from last year to today, we've got 229% up in followers, we're 145% up in streams, 113% up in watch hours, and 112% up in listeners. So that allowed us to break into the business charts. We hit peak position of number 13 this year, and we actually placed there for 9 days, which was news to Steve and I. We didn't even know there was a business chart on Spotify. But yeah, thank you to everybody at home for these brilliant statistics. I think we're sort of like quietly proud of it. We didn't know these things were happening, which is probably reflects on Steve and I missing the actual admin part of this podcast. But yeah, crazy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you finished in the right place there, I think, Steve. Thank you very much to everyone who's been listening and subscribing and giving us their kind of attention and time and that sort of thing. 3,114 minutes, you said we put together. That sounded like an awful lot to me. And then I sort of think, I don't know, maybe about an hour a show, divide that by 50. I know we're not quite at the end of the year yet, but that's sort of around that kind of territory, I suppose. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't be hugely amazed by this. I had no idea about any of these stats. If I was going to guess at any of them, I wouldn't have guessed at anything. I only know one stat, and that's basically our subscribers on YouTube. And to be honest, I haven't looked at that in the last week or so. But I think that's kind of how we run this podcast. Basically, we've always run it as something that we'd like to listen to, that we hope is fun for people, maybe sometimes useful for people, and then kind of hope that everything else follows, like airtime and subscriber numbers and sort of all the rest of it, and just let that take care of itself. We asked, I think, once for people to kind of like and subscribe because we were getting close to 1,000 and was getting tantalisingly interesting. But beyond that, it's there for people who like it. And thank you to everyone who who subscribes and listens, and especially the people that Steve mentioned. And if you're in that category of people who have listened to us for what is almost certainly objectively too much of your life, then do let us know, because we're very grateful and we'd love to give you a mention as well. But yeah, that is exciting stuff.